This short video will help you in the process of writing a research paper. It will explain the key elements of a university research paper and how to take your research and start writing. It will also provide some simple tips on writing, formatting, and editing. So let's go! Before we dive into how to write a research paper, it's useful to know exactly what a research paper is. Most research papers are seeking to answer a question, either one provided by your prof or one of your own. And if you don't know how to generate your own question, check out our library research toolkit or talk to your professor about what an appropriate topic might be. Here's what a basic paper consists of: an introduction, which outlines what you will argue in your paper, a body, which supports your arguments or claims, and a conclusion, which ties your argument together and suggests where the research should go next. An introduction is a great place to provide some context to your argument. Things like what time period you're talking about, how your topic is significant to your field of study, or previous research that has been done are all things that should go in your introduction. Be careful to find a balance between providing enough context to your argument and providing too much. The last part of your introduction is your thesis statement. This is what your argument is. In essence, your whole paper in one sentence. Thesis statements are often followed by what's called a path statement, which discusses how you're going to write about your argument, or, said another way, what the subsections or paragraphs of your paper will be. For some examples on crafting a thesis, visit the UBC Writing Center's website. The body of your paper is where you develop your argument. It should have citations from scholarly literature or academic journals. These citations should add to your argument, not be your argument itself. It's important that each citation has commentary provided by you that are your own ideas. Think about including how or where the knowledge was gained, or why it's significant. When you're forming your argument, it's important to not be too one-sided. What's missing from the literature? Are the sources you've cited representative of the commonly held belief, or are they new or somewhat controversial? Make sure you consider other possible outcomes and conclusions on your topic and address some of them, or it will appear that you've only found research that supports your argument. Generally speaking, a conclusion is used to summarize the arguments of your paper and suggest where there is room for future research. Rather than just restating your introduction, a conclusion can be used to discuss some of the further implications of your research. Citations are often the biggest struggle for students, but giving credit for others' work is required. However, we know that it can be confusing to know exactly what you need to cite. Essentially, you need to cite anything that is not your own idea, but this excludes common knowledge. The fact that Canada was confederated in 1867 is common knowledge and doesn't need to be cited. But if historian Amy Jampants says that 33 people were present in the room during Confederation and that they were all drinking brandy, you would need to cite it. Think of citations as not just about giving credit, but also to help the reader know how you came by information. What if they wanted to read more about something you mentioned in your paper? Here's two examples in MLA format. One direct citation on the left, and an example of an indirect citation on the right that paraphrases the other person's words but still cites them. If you're unsure of the style of citation to use, ask your professor. Now that we've discussed the components of a research paper, let's look at a step-by-step guide to actually writing it. The first step to writing your research paper is to organize your notes into the different parts of your argument. One way of doing this is noting your citations and research findings on index cards, and then sorting them into piles based on the different parts of your subject that they cover. For example, if you were writing about Germany's involvement in World War II, you might sort into the piles social motivations, economic motivations, and political motivations. Your thesis statement is your argument. It's what you have to say on the subject. Most people find it helpful to have a working thesis while they write their paper, and a polished thesis statement once all their research is complete. A thesis is a well-informed, well-researched argument, not a general or summarizing statement. When you first start writing a draft, it's important to get ideas down rather than aim for a perfectly formatted paper with correct spelling and grammar the first time through. Sometimes people find it easier to start with the body of the paper and add the introduction and conclusion after. It's much easier to format and edit a paper once the bulk of it is written, rather than trying to format and edit as you go. Ultimately, though, you need to find a style that works for you. Here's one way of forming paragraphs in your paper. Start by introducing a topic. This could be background information that will help the reader understand where you are picking up the argument. You should also introduce your citation, then comment on how that citation is relevant or how it backs up your argument. Citation should never sit alone and should always have some clarifying comment by you. To begin editing, read your paper out loud and ask yourself, does this make sense? You will often catch mistakes reading aloud than if you just read through your paper in your head. Remember that editing is about revision, so leave ample time to make changes to your paper. One of the most important things you can do when finishing up your paper is print off a copy. This will allow you to read the paper for the flow. Does your introduction connect well with the body of your paper? Does the conclusion make sense? It's easy to write a paper in bits and pieces and then not see it as one full, cohesive argument, and printing off your paper will help you do that. Once you're done, the only thing left to do is hand in your paper. Good luck! We hope you found this video useful, and please feel free to check out some of our other student toolkits.